Hello guys, welcome back to TFD. We've got to talk about what we just witnessed, because that game was an absolute massacre. There's really no other way to describe it. From the opening minutes all the way until the final whistle, it felt like one team was completely in control of everything that was happening on the court. And if we're being completely honest here, the best player on the floor tonight was Caitlin Clark. No debate. No hesitation. It was her game from the moment she stepped on that floor. Now, I'm going to be honest with you all, because coming into this game, I had a certain expectation about how things were going to play out. I thought we were going to see a lot of passing from Caitlin Clark. I thought she was going to step into that classic facilitator role, move the ball, get everyone involved, run the offense, and let the veterans do most of the scoring. And yes, she did plenty of that tonight. The passing was there, the court vision was there, the playmaking was elite like we've come to expect. But what I didn't expect was for her to be the conductor of the entire orchestra. There's a huge difference between being a facilitator and being the player who controls the entire tempo of the game. And tonight, that's exactly what Caitlin Clark did. When she was on the floor, the entire rhythm of the game changed. Everything sped up. The pace picked up. The offense became more aggressive, more fluid, and honestly, way more dangerous. You could literally see it happen in real time. Whenever Caitlin Clark stepped on the floor, the message was clear. Push tempo, push tempo, push tempo. And the rest of the team understood that immediately. You saw players like Ryan Howard sprinting up the court. You saw Kelsey Plum running the wings. You saw Paige Beckers pushing ahead in transition. The moment a shot went through the net or a rebound was grabbed, players were already taking off down the court because they knew something important. If you run with Caitlin Clark, there's a good chance you're getting an easy bucket. That's the difference her presence makes. There were multiple possessions where the defense barely had time to set up before the ball was already flying down the floor. And Caitlin wasn't just throwing random passes. These were inch-perfect passes, perfectly timed, hitting players right in stride. Now, yes, she did have 3 turnovers in the game, but let's put that in context. One of them came with about 10 seconds left in the game. Another came with only 4 seconds remaining. At that point, the game was already decided, so those mistakes really didn't impact anything. One of those turnovers actually came when she attempted a full court pass to Angel Reese that almost connected. It was a risky play, but honestly, it shows the level of confidence she was playing with. When you look at the numbers, the impact becomes even clearer. Caitlin Clark led the team in plus-minus. She finished second on the team in scoring, and she recorded almost half of the team's assists. Think about that for a moment. In limited minutes, she was responsible for a huge portion of the team's offense. And this brings up an important conversation about tempo. There are moments in basketball where you don't necessarily need to play at Caitlin Clark's pace. Sometimes slowing the game down makes sense. Sometimes controlling possessions is the smarter approach. But there are also moments where her pace is exactly what a team needs. And tonight proved that. When Caitlin Clark pushes the tempo, defenses struggle to keep up. Players get open looks, transition opportunities appear everywhere, and suddenly the offense becomes almost impossible to stop. That's why tonight felt so different. She played 19 minutes and finished with 17 points and 12 assists. 17 points, 12 assists in 19 minutes. That is ridiculous production. When you break it down even further, it gets even crazier. Several of her assists led directly to 3-point shots. If you add those points up, Caitlin Clark was responsible for roughly 33 points created by herself in less than 20 minutes. That's elite efficiency. And the plus-minus stat tells the story even better. She finished the game plus 35. Plus 35 in just 19 minutes. Which means if she had played the entire game, obviously that's unrealistic because rotations matter, but if she had played the full 40 minutes, the margin would have been absolutely insane. Now let's talk about some of the other performances we saw tonight. Ryan Howard was fantastic. If someone wanted to argue that Ryan Howard deserved player of the game, I wouldn't even fight that argument. She was aggressive, confident, and extremely effective offensively. Her scoring kept the pressure on the opponent all night long. But even with Ryan playing at that level, the overall engine of the team was still Caitlin Clark. Now, Kelsey Plum had a decent performance. Nothing spectacular, but she wasn't bad either. She played her role and contributed when needed. Chelsea Gray, on the other hand, had a rough night. I thought she struggled quite a bit out there. The rhythm just wasn't there, and some of the decisions felt off compared to what we usually expect from her. Now, Kalia Copper also had a mixed performance. She attacked the basket aggressively, but missed a couple of open layups that you normally expect her to convert. Now, we also have to talk about Paige Bueckers, because you could clearly see that Paige came into this game a little nervous. That's not even criticism, it's just the reality of the situation. The moment was big, the stage was big, and it looked like she was pressing a little bit early on. Her offense took a while to get going. But here's what I will say about Paige. Even when her shots weren't falling, she was still working hard defensively. She was guarding full court, putting pressure on ball handlers, and doing the little things that help a team win. Eventually, she settled down and started to look more comfortable. And that's an important sign, because Paige Bueckers is absolutely one of the most talented players on this roster. Sometimes it just takes a few minutes to adjust and find your rhythm. But again, tonight the spotlight belonged to Caitlin Clark. She played the game like she knew she was the best player on the court, not in an arrogant way, just in a confident, controlled way.
Now, another player worth mentioning is Angel Reese. I thought Angel played solid basketball tonight. She wasn't asked to carry the offense or dominate scoring, and that's perfectly fine. Her role on this team is defense, rebounding, and physical presence in the paint. And she did that. She grabbed boards, protected the rim, and battled defensively. I didn't even realize she had picked up 4 fouls during the game, which shows how active she was around the basket. For what this team needs from her, Angel Reese did her job. De'Erica Hamby also had a few nice moments, running the floor and finishing some easy transition baskets. But one thing that really stood out was a certain veteran lineup that struggled badly. There was a stretch in the third quarter where the lineup included players like Kelsey Plum, Chelsea Gray, Copper, Hamby, and another veteran piece. And honestly, it just didn't look good. The offense slowed down, the spacing wasn't great, and the energy felt different compared to the faster lineups. That contrast actually highlighted something important. The team simply plays faster and more dynamic basketball when Caitlin Clark is on the floor. Now, credit also has to be given to the opposing team. There were a couple of players who really battled hard and showed impressive effort. One player, in particular, a 6-foot power forward who was handling point guard responsibilities, created some interesting mismatches because of her size. She was noticeably taller than Caitlin Clark and tried to use that advantage. But even with those moments, the overall performance levels was clear. There were simply levels to this game. And that's something you could see especially when comparing certain bench players. Players like Monique Billings and Ray Burrell are solid basketball players. They absolutely belong at the professional level. But when you're talking about elite international competition, the difference in skill level becomes noticeable. That's just the reality. There are tiers to basketball. And tonight, the top tier was occupied by players like Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. After watching a performance like this, one thing becomes extremely clear. Caitlin Clark is going to be a major part of the future for Team USA. Looking ahead to the 2028 Olympics, it's hard to imagine a scenario where she isn't one of the starting guards. The impact she brings in terms of pace, playmaking, and offensive creation is simply too valuable. There has been a lot of debate on social media about guard rotations, point guard roles, and who should lead the offense. But games like this make the conversation much simpler. When Caitlin Clark is controlling the offense, the entire team becomes more dangerous. And tonight was the perfect example of that. A dominant performance, a massive win, and a reminder that when Caitlin Clark is given the keys to the offense, she's capable of taking over the entire game.
All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this breakdown. Let me know what you think about this performance in the comments. Was Caitlin Clark the clear player of the game, or do you think Ryan Howard deserves that title? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay locked in with TFD for more updates, reactions, and breakdowns.
Feeling pretty good at the dub.
My body's been feeling really good, so just kind of having confidence in that, and I think don't worry about the body. I think that was kind of the mental battle. Is like trying to get over that aspect. Like don't think about it, don't worry about it. Like you put all the time in that you can to be in the best position you are, and I feel great. So I think my mentality coming in was just play really, really hard. Like I think this is such a different scenario for me rather than the WNBA season. It's like when a lot is kind of on my shoulders to create and do a lot of things. Obviously here, surrounded with 11 other players that are so talented and people that have won gold medals. So my focus more than anything was just play really fast, play up tempo. I know that's what I'm good at and what I can bring to this team. And people finished really well. We ran the floor well, and then people made a lot of good shots.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, great. B plus. I was hoping for better. Thank you.